not finished yet. I'm not finished yet. Cause I'm not finished yet. I'm not finished yet. I'm not finished yet.
In our universe, we are all alone. In our lonely hearts, we search for a way back home. They gotta find a way, gotta find a way, find a way back home.
What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to the Monday, May 31st edition of LvLUp Live, your home for gaming and esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Fiasco. You can call me John. That dude right next to me is king of the courtside king. You can call him Joey. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing well, sir. For those live with us, check out the new template. We're trying a few different templates out on the back end. This is one John just recently designed. I think it's sick looking. Hope you guys live with us tonight enjoy it as well.
Yeah, it's something different. It's something unique. It's something it's trippy. I like it. It's like you're going through a tunnel. It's really cool stuff. Nation, if you want to follow the show on social media, I hope you're already doing so if you're listening to the show and you're a longtime follower. But if you're new to the show, we have the social medias for you. If you want to tag along, you can follow the show on Twitter and Facebook at LvLUp Live. And while you're on Twitter, make sure to give Joey and myself a follow as well. Follow Joey at Courtside King, myself at Fiasco. If you are watching live on Twitch with the new beautiful template, you can take a look at those handles right below the mugshots you're currently staring at. And if you listen to the podcast version of the show later on down the road, they'll be in the show notes for you below. And if you are listening to the podcast version, which happens to be called LvLUp Podcast, it's available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. If you didn't know that, there you go. On those as well. And pretty much any other podcatcher, if you really want to. It goes out to all of them. But those are the main ones. But we don't, just whatever you want to use. Just feel free to use it. But those are the main ones. And if you're listening to the podcast version of the show, please do leave us a review, because reviews not only go a long way in helping reach new listeners, but also gives us that feedback that Joey and I so desperately want to make sure this show is what you, our viewers and listeners, want. So please, reviews are awesome. Do appreciate it. Joey, it is the last episode in the month of May. Can you believe it? Tomorrow is June. It's 50 degrees outside. For whatever reason here in the DC area, it's like our third winter. The cicadas are in full power mode. Like, you can hear them all over the place. It's absolutely annoying. But that doesn't mean that the show does not go on. So I do think we have some really awesome topics here, if you can hear over the cicadas. What are we talking about today, Joey?
Absolutely. We're going to talk a little bit about League of Legends esports and some auto-filling over in the jungle. We're going to move into some partnerships, talking a little bit about Nintendo and their move, actually making some progress in the esports realm. We're going to talk a little bit about past Blizzard developers moving into some new partnerships as well. And then we're going to dive into a slew of announcements that happened last week. Dragon Quest 35th anniversary, Sonic's 30th anniversary rather, Dying Light 2 showcase. We had Horizon Forbidden West shown off. Far Cry 6 got shown last week as well. There were just tons of showcases, John. It's like that pre-E3 hype. We're about to head into the Summer Game Fest time, and now everyone's trying to get their announcements that are not making the big stage out now.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. There's a ton to talk about, Joey. So before we can even entertain half of these topics, pretty much all of them, really, we have to cover the drink of choice for today's episode. I'm slacking. It was a holiday today, and I did everything else but think about what I was going to have for my drink. So, Joey, I'm going to need you to carry us here today. What is your beverage of choice, please?
I will not be carrying. I drink wine all weekend long, guys, Friday through Sunday. So I am switching things up. I'm going with the LaCroix Raz Cranberry tonight, so going hydrated.
Oh, pinky extended and
look at that nice glare. I know. What the heck? Can't even see the can. But yeah, so I'm staying hydrated tonight, trying to recover from all the wine over the weekend.
Recover from wine. Joseph, it's adult grape juice. It's completely healthy.
Hey, chat, don't be hating on my sparkling water over here.
I am rocking the Mountain Dew Major Melon because whenever I find it, I buy the entire store out because I have a feeling it's going to go away soon, and I don't trust Mountain Dew. So congratulations, your marketing has worked. I love your product, and I will constantly buy it out. I have like 8 cases over here. I'm not even joking.
What kind of melon are we talking? Is this like watermelon flavored?
Yeah,
okay,
it's
watermelon.
So good. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I'm ashamed to admit to have like 8 12 packs over here full of it. It's going to take me like a year to get through all of it. But yeah, every time I find it, I just buy it out because it's always like 4 cases only, and it's like buy 3 for like $9, and that's like a stupid good deal when it comes to soda. So anywho, Joey, adulting gone horribly wrong, if I may. But we are not here for my bad shopping habits when it comes to Mountain Dew Major Melon. We are here for gaming and esports news, and I think we have a fantastic show lined up for everyone this evening. So let's get right into it. Let's get right into gaming and esports news. Let's go!
Absolutely. This one's going to be gaming heavy in the announcement department. Before we get there, though, we're going to have to cover a little bit of esports in the terms of roster moves. Kicking things off, LEC junglers, John. Apparently, jungle in the LEC has become the autofill role for Europe League of Legends players. We have Bwipo on Fnatic, moving from top to jungle, with Adam coming in as an EU Masters player, filling in that top role now. But they're not the only one making a jungle change. We're looking at SK as well. Treats is moving from the support position, previously a support for TSM, now moving into the jungle for SK Gaming. On top of that, Coach Jezes, who used to play, I believe the last time he started in the league was with Fnatic at a world championship in the support role alongside Reckless. Then he moved to coaching Misfits and then over to SK. He's going to be jumping back onto the Rift as a player now, with Tinks moving to the bench.
Yeah,
this is kind of crazy to me.
It's insane.
I mean, for me, looking at a player like Bwipo, someone who's filled in on a caster desk, being a color caster like myself, a lot of casters like John and I do a lot of research into the game, a lot of research into the players to kind of build the story and understand the game that's being played. So I think Bwipo, having that experience and also just playing the game as regularly as he does come in with a lot of knowledge in terms of the game itself. Now, translating that from the top laned island over to the jungle, I think it's one thing to do it in your head. It's another thing to play it out. I want to have faith as a Fnatic fan and as someone who enjoys seeing these really knowledgeable players play out the game on the Rift. We've seen him overcommit here and there before, though. He's one of those players that likes to leave his lane a lot, so I think that does play a bit into the jungle role. And I think it could go well for Bwipo. A lot of people are doubting him. A lot of people are saying this is not going to go well. And I could see that aggressive nature of his, maybe not playing into it super effectively, but I think he's also good at the gank mentality. He's good at knowing when to roam, and I think jungle unlocks him to do that a little bit more, as well as to pair up with Hylissang to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can definitely understand where a lot of the nerves from the fan standpoint's really coming from, because like you watched him in top lane. There were moments where I felt like he was completely tunnel visioned, and he would, turret dive early in the game. And it's like, okay, 1, you didn't have the health for it. 2, you didn't have the power for it. And 3, now you just blew your summoner spells, and now you're just completely worthless for the next 4 minutes. Yeah, like when you're overly aggressive and you have that tunnel vision, you're going to make the fans worry. Like when you go big, the other option is going home. So in this case, in League of Legends, you go back to the fountain if you don't go big. So when you switch to something like a jungle, where it's very easy to be overly aggressive and maybe start to feel a little comfortable, like maybe, you early game invade the other jungle, you start to steal some of the other junglers' buff, you start to feel really confident about things. That can easily snowball as well. Not saying it is for Bwipo, but from a fan standpoint, I can definitely see why the fans are nervous about him making that switch, because he does have that potential. I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong. I think he's going to do quite well. Like you said, he's very intelligent when it comes to the game. He understands how the position's supposed to be played. This is going to come down to trial and error. And like he's been streaming quite a bit. He's been in the jungle. I believe even Fnatic called it, the LEC's worst kept secret, with Bwipo going to the jungle. So he's putting in the time, he's putting in the effort. The fans need to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Like, he's a professional league player for a reason. Switching positions, it's going to make you a little nervous. Give him the benefit of the doubt until he does something stupid repetitively. I say it's a good move. I mean, you keep a very solid player on the roster going forward. I like the move. You keep Bwipo, and we'll see how it turns out. But I think it has a good chance of being very successful for Fnatic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not something every player can do. I think certain players like Bwipo, with all that knowledge, Treats as well, coming in with a lot of knowledge of the game. For me, Treats might be a little bit more of an easier transition up front in the sense of a support moving to jungle. Support's already known for paying very well attention to the map. They're known for roaming already, and I think Treats will fill that role well. My bigger issue with the SK move is going to be Coach Jez's coming in to play support. This is a player, sure, he plays solo queue here and there, but he's not played a competitive game outside of ranked queue on stage in, it feels like 2 or 3 years at very least. So this is going to be a player who has been in that coaching role for a while, now trying to translate it over to in-game play once again in a competitive sense. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a struggle for that SK roster on top of these jungle moves being made. I think the last thing to say here is just overall, I think the game sense and knowledge is there for both these players. And we've seen it work out well in the past. I mean, I think of like Ambition for Samsung Galaxy. He moved to jungle, ended up winning a world championship. You look at High, he moved from mid lane to jungle. They didn't win a world championship, but they did pretty well that year. They ended up qualifying for Worlds. I think they reverse swept, if I remember, in the gauntlet to even make it to Worlds. So you look at a few of these jungle changes in the past. Well, not every player can do it effectively, whether it be to jungle or a different role in general. It has shown that there can be success in it if the right player pulls in that spot. And then the other roster move to touch on before we jump into some more gaming-related news is going to be Cloud9. John's boys over there promoting King to ADC from the Academy roster, and then Sven to the bench. Legendary ADC Sven, who played for Origin, and then he played for TSM, and has had some success overall on Cloud9 as well.
You know, this is... If there's one thing Cloud9 is great at, it's developing young talent. Cloud9, probably the best organization in North America for doing that. King put in his time in the academy system. He's a very sound player. Very impressed with how he's played in the academy system. It's Jack kind of feeling out to see what he has. Like, it doesn't mean Sven won't be back. It doesn't mean he's completely out of the picture. No, he's going to the academy team. He has some things that he wants to work on, that the coaching staff believes he wants to work on. Which is another key point here also is Reignover stepping down as head coach of Cloud9, and Mythy's taking over the head coach role going forward as well. So there is a lot of shakeup for this Cloud9 roster going forward, Jack said it's Sven's position to win back. So it's healthy competition. Like, you're a veteran. Like, if you're going to want to play on the LCS stage, it's not a right that's given to you because you're a veteran. It is earned, and even if you are a veteran, you still have to earn that every split. Again, not saying like this is like the Cloud9 a couple years ago where half the roster went lazy. We're just talking that, there's a hot hand. Jack and the head coach, Mythy, decided that they want to try that hot hand on the LCS stage, and that's what they're going to do. They know what Sven can do. They want to see what King can do, in the limelight on the stage for LCS. I think it's a solid move. Cloud9 won the spring split in pretty convincing fashion. So why not? Why not give it a couple weeks, see what he's got, and worst case scenario, Sven comes back.
Absolutely, and we'll get to see that kick off on June 4th is when the LCS is going to return. Cloud9, their first match will be up against the Golden Guardians. I don't think Squirkle's in chat tonight, but we'll have a very exciting time to see how that one goes. Cloud9 going to MSI, doing decently well. They had some games that didn't look so pretty and some games that looked a lot higher than people expected. In the end, they did end up getting knocked out in the knockout rounds, but a pretty decent showing overall for NA over there. Sliding into some other esports news, but a little bit more game related as we move into partnerships and investments. Nintendo has partnered with PlayVS to add Smash Bros. Ultimate and Splatoon 2 as officially recognized varsity esports at participating high schools starting in fall 2021. This is big news to me, in my opinion. We look at Nintendo and they have, to put it nicely, they've struggled with finding ways or finding the best way to fund esports scenes under their umbrella. We've seen a lot of people try to run Smash tournaments and either get shut down by Nintendo or not get prize pool funding from Nintendo or marketing from Nintendo. So while Nintendo says that they want these things, they've never really backed it up too much in forms of supporting the community in and of itself. They do events here and there. They throw some funding here and there, but overall it's very inconsistent in their esports department. And their online infrastructure as well takes a lot of doubters from just how it runs in itself. So making a move like this, partnering with PlayVS, I think is a big win for esports gamers on Nintendo consoles. Do I think it solves all the problems? Not at all. But I think having an organization that's well-rooted, well-known like a PlayVS can hopefully start to push Nintendo in the right direction as far as getting these esports to where they need to be.
God, this whole thing is so ironic. The Smash scene has been begging Nintendo to get involved and support this scene for years. And then out of nowhere, Nintendo partners with PlayVS to support the high school scene. Step in the right direction. One check mark. Followed by a whole bunch of fails on Nintendo's part, shutting down tournaments left and right. There's no better way to kill your game and the unofficial esports scene, if you will, than shutting down tournaments left and right there. So maybe this is Nintendo finally starting to realize how popular Smash is. Me partnering up with high school. There you go. Also, when you take a look at the high school esports scene, there's still a lot of question marks over what can and can't be played because of cartoon violence and guns and all this other stuff. Smash is literally cartoon characters using special abilities. I think maybe a few of the characters use weapons, but nothing that I guess high schools care about. I think it's a smart move, and I think this is Nintendo maybe finally starting to crack that door open to the possibility of actually supporting Smash as a legitimate esports scene going forward.
I think one of the biggest things in terms of that in general, is there's not really any blood to my knowledge. I don't think Smash Brothers incorporates any of that. Even the guns, while you have some characters with guns or with swords, it's still very cartoony in essence. Like, you're not really seeing any kind of like gashes or holes being cut into characters. It's very cartoony in that sense. So if any fighting game is going to make it, Super Smash Brothers seems like one of the better ones to make that chance. On top of that, hugely popular IP. Stuff like Mario is some of the most popular characters in the world in general. I mean, in a sense, when it comes to gaming, Mario is kind of like your Mickey Mouse to Disney. It's just so well known. It's so easy to incorporate into different areas. So I think this is a good move. Again, I like that they're starting to fund the esports scene, and I like that they're partnering up with a well-known org like PlayVersus. My other issue is still, though, these other organizations. Like, there's so many great local Smash players and Smash tournaments just here in the DMV area, and there are so many that, I mean, in a sense, are not really supported by Nintendo, whether Nintendo just brushes them under the rug, doesn't say anything, doesn't give them funding. It just feels like they're starting to make the jump into esports, but they're not still quite sure what to do exactly. So we'll see if they get the direction they need from PlayVersus here as we continue to keep an eye on Nintendo in the realm of esports and just gaming in general. Moving on to another thing that I think will have both of our eyes caught, John. Frost Giant has partnered with Mike Morhaime and Amy Chen's Dreamhaven Entertainment and licensed Unreal Engine 5 to build its upcoming RTS. So Dreamhaven and Frost Giant, who are these people? What are they all about? These are a lot of ex-Blizzard Entertainment, really designers, developers, even some Sweetie people like Mike Morhaime coming in here. I believe there's some Riot Games employees involved as well. StarCraft was huge. StarCraft was one of those original esports titles, one of those big RTS games right up there. I mean, it was bigger than Command & Conquer, but that's one of the other ones that people typically associate with the RTS genre. I love the idea of this. Like, I hate seeing so many people leaving Blizzard, but now going to a new studio, having that creative freedom once again that they used to have. I'm very curious what kind of RTS they'll put together here.
Weird. It's like Activision can't touch this new studio. It's kind of nice. Yeah, I mean, the dream is still alive. These amazing men and women at Blizzard that helped create some of the biggest esports scenes and some of the greatest gaming universes known to man. They feel stifled. They feel like they're being suffocated at the current environment, and they're leaving. But their passion's still alive. That fire still burns, and that's the best part. Is that these people that were able to bring these universes to life, the Protoss, the Zerg, the Terran, those amazing campaigns, Brood Wars, StarCraft 2, all the different expansions with it, that's not just something that happens overnight. That is pure creativity in its rawest form. And these people are getting back together. They're bringing the band back, if you will. And the sky's the limit. Like, obviously it's not going to be StarCraft. It's not going to be, the Protoss and the Zerg and the Terran coming, because all that's, owned still by Blizzard. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that they can't create something new using that same spark that they used to create StarCraft back in the day. I love this. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's something that I know, Joey's going to be keeping an eye on. I'm going to be keeping an eye on. I hope you guys listening, watching it, watching at home or listening wherever, keep an eye on it too, because it can be an absolute game changer. These are some massive, massive names in the gaming industry pulling together, and they're going to come and essentially they're going to come out with another RTS, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic if their track record is anything to look back at.
And it doesn't feel like there's a dominant RTS right now in general. Like, StarCraft is obviously one of your bigger ones. Command & Conquer is out there. I think you can argue like Age of Empires has its place. Age of Empires 4 is coming out later this fall. Halo Wars was popular for a little while, but not really anything super big. So there's definitely room in that area, in that genre, for something new to come. And again, StarCraft, at least to my knowledge, there's no plans for like a StarCraft 3 to come out anytime soon. Age of Empires 4 is probably going to be your newest like big new age RTS coming out anytime in the near future. So I think something like this, while it's probably still many years down the line, having those old Blizzard employees having that real creative heart and unit of a lot of these early Blizzard titles could end up being a huge new game coming out in this category.
I'm hyped for it. I'm absolutely hyped for it.
I think it'd be great. I love the idea of Frost Giant and Dreamhaven working together. I mean, Mike Morhaime, when I think like Blizzard, like BlizzCon in general, I feel like some of the speeches from Mike Morhaime, Chris Metzen, all of those kind of guys coming out are really what I remember with a lot of the old Blizzard. And now seeing him being one of the heads on this, along with Amy Chen, I feel like there's just so much real possibility here for this RTS title. So I'm stoked. I'm curious what they end up doing. I don't think they'll go space-based, John. I think they go as far away from StarCraft as they can. So I'm really curious what direction they take it.
Oh, can you imagine if Metzen gets in on this project also?
I mean, I think they would have him in some way, whether I don't know if he'll be a full-on developer, but I could see him at least doing voiceovers or being involved in some kind of presentation or something.
It'd be so good. So good.
It would be cool. Moving from Frost Giant, Mike Morhaime, Dreamhaven Entertainment over to Dragon Quest 35. So we have the 35th anniversary of Dragon Quest. John, I'm not a big Dragon Quest player. I don't know if you are. I've started to get a little bit more into JRPGs. I've been playing some Nier Automata here and there. But overall, I'm not like a big Dragon Quest player. Some people are pretty hyped about some of these announcements, though. Dragon Quest 3 is being remade in the same engine that Octopath Traveler was made in. If you guys haven't played Octopath Traveler or at least looked at it, it is one of the coolest like 2D style looking. I mean, I guess it's still considered 3D at that point. But it's a really cool graphical style. Nothing you've ever seen before in gaming. It's definitely worth taking a look at. And I think this will be cool to see it redesigned in that new graphical engine. On top of that, the biggest announcement of the evening for this, I believe it happened in Japan, is where all these announcements happened. So I did not watch this one live either. I just caught some highlights. This is going to be Dragon Quest 12, The Flames of Fate. This is going to be a very different shift for the franchise. So coming into the 12th game here, they've obviously had success over the years, over the 35 years, but they want to take a bit of a different take to it. How can we pull in new players? How can we change the franchise after being around for so long? They're going to go with a darker tone here, something we've seen a bit with some Marvel, a bit with some DC in the past as well. And it's something that's worked out for some of these, more in movies than games, at least from what we've seen in the past. And it's kind of taking that darker tone, kind of making it a bit more adult than it's been in the past. So that's what Dragon Quest 12 is going to try to do here. On top of that, they're going to make choices play a major role in the game. So something like those early age Mass Effect, John likes Life is Strange, something in that same vein, where every choice you make kind of builds how the story plays out. So that's going to be incorporated in here alongside a completely new combat and battle system. It's going to be a worldwide simultaneous launch, which I believe is the first time ever for the franchise. Instead of launching early in Japan, it's going to be worldwide all at the same time. And they did not announce platforms and dates as of yet. So there could be some exclusivity there. Not really sure at this point. Overall, John, is someone, and I don't think you play Dragon Quest much either. What are your thoughts on them taking a darker tone and kind of completely revamping the combat system here for the 35th?
I kind of like it. You know, it's always good to give a franchise a facelift. It's always good to maybe take it in a different direction. Dark themed games tend to do well because it gets people thinking. Happy-go-lucky games, like your typical like knight in shining armor kind of thing with the happy ending. That's one thing. It's essentially like a Disney movie, if you will. It's kind of predictable. I was talking with some about the new Mighty Ducks show on Disney Plus. Like they just had the finale. It was very predictable. And a lot of times, a lot of these games that kind of stay on that same happy-go-lucky path that refuse to take a look at like the dark side of things. It just feels repetitive, So when you switch it up, you go down a different route. You throw the fans a curveball. You throw the player a curveball. It catches them off guard, and it feels like a brand new game, a brand new franchise. There's two versions of the franchise now. I like it. I personally really like it. You mentioned Life is Strange. The most recent game in that genre that came out, Tell Me Why. That dealt with child abuse, that dealt with suicide and mental illness. That game was not light in any way possible, but it told such a powerful and impactful story that while I don't think I'll be able to replay that game anytime soon, it was that rough. It was so good. It made an impact and made the impact it was supposed to do. It sold incredibly well. A lot of people really enjoyed playing it. So there's nothing wrong with going dark, if you will, on these games, because it does provide a different experience for the gamer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, for me, the interesting part here is I like the idea of it being a fresh take to the franchise, a new direction in a sense. But it's also, you're walking a fine line because you want to keep all your old veteran fans around, but you also kind of want to reach out to a new audience. And also, you've been doing the same kind of thing for 35 years. How can you change it up a bit? So I think that's one thing to consider here is, and it's going to be the same issue that Halo is going to run into with Infinite as well. You have all these people from Halo 2 and Halo 3 who want the game to play a certain way, but then you have the new age fans that are kind of playing your Fortnite and your Warzone. And how can we take these new elements of gameplay, like Sprint, for example, that wasn't a big thing back in the Halo 3 day, and incorporate it into Halo Infinite? I think Dragon Quest is going to have a similar issue here potentially. While a darker storyline is not really changing up the gameplay mechanics necessarily, it is still a very big direction for a game that's just so well known, especially over in Japan as a franchise. So it'll be interesting to see how it all comes out, how fans take it in general. But I like the idea of something different for that franchise. Over to Sonic, who had its 30th anniversary. So Dragon Quest 35th, congratulations, Sonic 30th anniversary. So a few things coming out here, John. They mentioned so many things. We're going to stick to the gaming side of things. There was a TV show that's going to come out as well. We're not going to touch on that. They mentioned a little bit about the movie as well as an animated series. So a number of different things in the works in terms of movies and TV as well. But sticking with games, Sonic will be playable in a few new games, John. He's joining the Tokyo Olympics game as a playable avatar. On top of that, Sonic, along with Amy, Tails, and Knuckles, are joining 2 Point Hospital as free DLC on July 30th. So from Dr. Mario to Dr. Sonic here. And on top of that, Sonic Fighters, the classic arcade game, will be playable in any arcade in the upcoming Yakuza spinoff, Lost Judgment, which comes out in September 24th. I love this, John. I think this is a great way to celebrate the anniversary. You pick some of these popular titles throughout the world, or on top of that, titles around popular events, rather, with something like the Tokyo Olympics. Find ways to incorporate Sonic, this really, I would call him an iconic figure overall, kind of like, I mean, Mario is Japanese-based, but one of those big characters up there with Mario, kind of like Sega's version of Mario. So I like this. I think it's a good way to incorporate him into different IPs, a good way to, I don't want to say bring the awareness of Sonic, but kind of reignite the flame of Sonic for people who might not know Sonic as well as past generations do. So it's a good way to kind of jump into some of those currently popular franchises, find ways to continue to bring up that Sonic name. So overall, I really like these moves.
Yeah, was I the only one that during this announcement was absolutely terrified of the idea of Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails being doctors in 2 Point Hospital? Like the idea of like these magical hedgehogs, if you will, being. I know it's a video game, but it was just one of those things. It's like, I don't know if I want Sonic and Knuckles and their attitude to be a doctor. You know, it's just kind of funny. It was interesting. It was unique.
What is that? Do you remember that game, like the board game where you have like the little tweezers and you go in and
Operation.
Yeah. That's what I just pictured as you're talking about this. Is Sonic playing Operation. Yeah, it's good times. I think it's just a fun way to incorporate the IP, continue to bring it out there. But that wasn't all, John. We got a lot more. We got a remaster of Sonic Colors coming. That's Sonic Colors Ultimate coming September 7th. On top of that, a new compilation of Sonic's classic adventures titled Sonic Origins will be coming in 2022. That's going to be like your Sonic 1, 2, 3, your Tails. Pretty much every one of those classic Sonic games being brought together in an arcade-based game. It's going to be similar to, if you guys remember, Rare Replay, kind of like that, but on a much smaller scale, just Sonic-based. So kind of a cool idea there. We have Sonic Mania and Team Sonic Racing now available on Amazon's Luna platform, as well as those two in addition to Sonic Forces joining PlayStation Now tomorrow. For those listening to the podcast, that's June 1st. That's Tuesday, June 1st, right? Today's Monday?
Yeah.
I know, it kind of throws me off with this whole holiday weekend. So Tuesday, June 1st, for those listening on the podcast, those will be available on PlayStation Now as well. On top of that, that's not all. We got tons of Sonic news. New DLC characters, modes, and music are headed to mobile Sonic games. Those are Forces, Racing, and Dash later this year. No date on those as of yet. And then Sonic will be getting a playable pack in Minecraft as well. More details on that to come. But you can eventually see the Blue Hedgehog running around in his good 16-bit form at some point as well. And last but not least, the one last thing that came out of this showcase, we got a very, very brief look. John, I don't know if you have a clip of this available, but it's a new 3D Sonic game tease for 2022. It was very brief. It showed some nice animations of Sonic just kind of running across the screen. Then there's a little bit of a cryptic ending there where it does come up and say 2022. We did not get an official title at the event, at the Sonic Central Showcase, But based on a press release that Sega accidentally sent out, we have very good thought that that title is going to be Sonic Rangers, and it will be coming out in 2022.
Let's go ahead and take a gander here at this real quick. Let's
Yeah, very, very brief, but really cool. Nice animations in it, for sure.
yeah, it just dashing around, fast feet, typical Sonic, just absolute madman. Absolutely love it. But yeah,
And it's got those like classic like Nintendo-y style graphics, that nice cartoony, but also like the nice glow to it as well.
What does it
Sonic team
mean?
being advertised. And then this symbol, John, this crazy symbol at the end. I think it's a tease for God of War Ragnarok.
yeah, pretty much.
That's, I mean, how it started out, and then it ends up as something a little bit different. But yeah, we don't officially know the title, but based on a press release that Sega accidentally published, there is a good chance that it will be called Sonic Rangers. Over to our next showcase again, guys. These just continued to pour on day after day this past week. Dying Light 2 was shown, and we saw it. I believe this one dropped on Thursday. Dying Light 2 is going to be titled Dying Light 2 Stay Human. It's set to launch on December 7th, and it's going to be coming to PC, PlayStation 4, or PlayStation 5, both Xbox Series consoles and Xbox One. So it will be cross-generational with those PS4 and Xbox One included as well. On top of that, this is a game that a lot of people thought has had some trouble development, whether it be on the more corporate side of Techland or whether it be with the game itself with COVID. A lot of people expected this one not to end up falling in 2021. They are still going with the release date of late 2021 and early December, at least at this point. John, if you want to just run a little bit of the gameplay while we're talking about it, the gameplay looks pretty cool overall. It's very clean. It looks nice. Graphically, I think it's impressive in certain areas. Other areas, I'm not as impressed. I think the fluidity of the combat rather, is quite good in the game. Just being able to jump between. I mean, if you look at something like this style of game with Dying Light, it's almost like parkour meets like this first-person zombie smash-in type of thing. So they do throw a little bit of like the E3 2019 demo in to kind of give a comparison of how the graphics have changed over the past couple years. But overall, John, I'm not a big zombie game fan, but at least looking at this graphically, I think it looks quite impressive.
Yeah, zombies. Talk about the one thing that's like completely oversaturated when it comes to like media in Hollywood and in video games. I will say this: I did like the way this trailer started out with grabbing a zombie on top of the roof and just kind of falling off with them and killing the undead, if you will. I mean, look, zombie games are around for a reason. It's obviously a very large market. A lot of people enjoy playing them, and that's great. Glad for them. Like, it's like every other zombie game, in my opinion. Maybe the game mechanics are a little different. Graphically, looks great. Looks fine. I mean, it's next gen. It looks amazing. It is what it's supposed to do. But again, it just feels like it's repeated. It's post-apocalyptic zombies. I think the parkour aspect might be the only unique gameplay here, but everything else just feels just so overdone. But again, that's just my opinion. But graphically, looks good. I like it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is the parkour aspect. Because you have so many other things, like whether it be World War Z, whether it be State of Decay, there's a number of other big zombie franchises out there. I think the parkour aspect, and particularly the camera angle as well, when you look at a lot of these first-person games, it's a lot more like gun-based, like you're looking at your guns or you're holding a melee weapon. This one with some good hand animations as well built in. The light looks phenomenal. I think the idea of zombies like you're seeing here, where they're kind of combating one another, that's something you don't generally see in a lot of these franchises. A lot of them just have zombies kind of coming at you as the enemy. So I think having a little bit of that, I don't know if we call it like internal struggle going on or what we want to call that, but I think it just adds another element to it as well. So we'll see how it goes. Again, very popular franchise. One of those franchises that's kind of been long awaiting a sequel for quite a while now. For those interested, again, Dying Light 2 Stay Human will be coming pretty much to all major consoles as well as PC, and that's going to come out December 7th, 2021. Over to another highly awaited title. This one, not the title itself catching people off guard, but the way this one was done. So going into the summer, we're seeing publishers like Xbox, Nintendo, Square Enix, all of these major publishers set dates for particular events to be shown, whether it be some kind of showcase or some kind of reveal. Then we have PlayStation, who's decided not to attend E3 and instead is going to drop some state of plays here and there. This one just getting announced a couple days before it happened. It's a PlayStation state of play, about 20 minutes long, that focused completely on Horizon Forbidden West, the sequel to Game of the Year title Horizon Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm getting so confused with these. But overall, it's a really cool game, post-apocalyptic. John, if you want to just start rolling some footage of this one as well. Overall, it's beautiful. I think the water animations you see in the new trailer in particular are quite gorgeous overall. When you look at Horizon Forbidden West, I think you see very graphical or very obvious graphical improvements over what we had in Zero Dawn. On top of that, I think the idea of this post-apocalyptical world combined with these mechanical creatures kind of adds something different to a genre that, again, like John said, in Hollywood as well as in gaming is quite well done when we look at apocalypse stuff. But you add in the mechanical aspect, it makes it a little bit different because I'm not going to say gives it a cyberpunk theme, but it does give it a little bit more of that mechanical punkiness to it as well. Graphically, I think this game looks gorgeous. There were some fanboys. I don't know if he's an Xbox fanboy. I would assume he is. He did have Xbox and PlayStation and all those names in his like profile, whatever. But he ended up making this post about Aloy looking like she's gained weight from the first game. And on top of that, there was like an image that came out of like a fan-made creation with her with a ton of makeup on as opposed to what she actually looks like in the game. Some of the comments on the post, like obviously there's a lot of hate and it's well-deserved in a number of senses. But also just like, where is she going to go get makeup in a post-apocalyptic world? Like, what is going on? Like the creatures that we're seeing are all mechanical anyway. You can't even harvest them for resources. It just doesn't make sense. It was a very sexist comment in my opinion. It's not necessary. I think her model looks fantastic. I think the faces in games, in this game in particular, look quite well. The environment, the foliage is fantastic. You guys will see the water here soon. But, I mean, what are your thoughts, Sean? I think it's just completely off base, in my opinion.
I'm sorry. Have we gotten to the point in society in the year 2021, in the year of our Lord, the Courtside King, that we are going to body shame in-game characters? Like, is there nothing else in the world that we have to worry about other than a female character in a video game doesn't prescribe to the over hypersexualized body frame that a lot of developers create when it comes to female characters? Are we upset because her butt cheeks are not hanging out of her grass skirt? Are we upset because she doesn't have the perfect hourglass body, if you will? Or because her cleavage isn't out on full display for every kid age 5 and older to watch and play in game? Like, look, I get it. The hot tub meta is a thing. Everything is hyper sexualized and everything. But if you are going to literally sit here and complain that the female character in a video game has put on weight since the last game, I hope to God you have nothing else in your life you have to worry about. Because that is just absolutely freaking pathetic. And you are, if you prescribe to that kind of mentality, you are the reason why developers continue to over-sexualize female characters. Like, if you are a female gamer, okay, and you are looking to identify with a character in-game that is also female, it's really hard to do when the female character is absolutely perfect, if you will, in quotations, meaning Hollywood perfect and Instagram perfect. It's really hard to do that when most of the population does not look like that. Stop body shaming people in real life. Stop body shaming characters in video games. It's absolutely freaking ridiculous. Like, seriously, grow the hell up. And if you are seriously going to continue to complain about how in-game characters look, by all means, just throw your console and your PC out the window. You're not wanted in the gamer culture. You're not wanted in the community. Just get the hell out. It pisses me off.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think you covered just about all bases
sorry,
there. It didn't fully go into body in particular with this, but it was more facially recognized. At the same point, I mean, when you make a comment like that, when you make a comment about gaining weight, when you make a comment about facial features in general, a lot of that can translate over to body as well. And it's something we see, like, whether it be in games or whether it be in voice comms, comments like that get made, especially to women, and it's just completely unacceptable. It's not a good place to be in, whether you're a gamer or whether you're not a gamer. It's not great to do as a human person in general. So I'm glad that you hit on that, John, and I think that's one thing a lot of people kind of need to check themselves on when it comes to this kind of stuff.
God, just tilted out of my mind on that one. That just, I hate
Yeah,
people.
and as you guys saw at the end there, a little bit of the water graphics as well, just absolutely gorgeous stuff coming out. I think the game looks phenomenal though, John, overall. Again, I played a little bit of the original game. I didn't play all the way through as of yet. I watched quite a bit of it. I think it fascinates me more to watch than to play from my personal perspective. But overall, this new game looks phenomenal. Any other thoughts on this or the overall thing that we got into there?
No. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop now. I'm not gonna. It's a family-friendly show, Joe. It's a family-friendly show. I got to keep reminding myself that.
It is gorgeous. The game looks phenomenal. Again, we don't have a release date on this one, guys. I honestly don't know. From what I was told originally, they were looking for a November/December release date. I think you'll hear more this summer. But with COVID, it's a possibility at least that this and God of War Ragnarok or whatever it ends up being called do end up getting pushed to 2022. So we'll have to see how it ends up going. I think Horizon Forbidden West will still make it out this year, like late November, early December. But we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Over to another one where you can yell at some more fanboys here in a minute. This is going to be the Far Cry 6 gameplay reveal. The setting is going to be in Yara. It's a tropical paradise, a fictional tropical paradise, frozen in time in the heart of the Caribbean, similar to a situation where you have in some of these communist countries where people don't necessarily know what's going on outside of it. This one being a tropical island where it's very closed off. You have whatever the dictator there is telling you happening, and you really don't know too much of what else is going on in the world is the way they kind of portrayed it. Players are going to jump into the shoes of local Yaran and military dropout Danny Rojas. Danny's going to be playable as a male or female character, depending on your preference there. On top of that, John, some of the creativity we saw in this game, I know you and I both mentioned it, the CD player gun looks amazing. And some of just the other creativity where they combine parts, whether it be a lawnmower, a CD player, into these kind of guerrilla-style weapons.
Yeah, so first thing I have to hit on is the fact that Ubisoft went live with this stream like to promote this, and it was a 30-minute countdown until it actually got to the premiere. I hate you, Ubisoft. Don't do that. Stop that. You're playing with my heart. Like, I have to watch this while I'm at work. I have to carve time out for your stream when it starts at 2 o'clock. I don't need to wait till 2:30 before the event goes down. Please and thank you.
I mean, that was a trash play just to talk
was.
about that. Like, you look at a lot of people who run that like pre-30-minute window or whatever, that's fine. But when you send out all the advertisements, when you're paying for promoted tweets, give us the real time of the showcase on it. I don't want to watch music and just still images over and over and over for 30 minutes. So I'm completely with you on that one, John. That one drove me crazy.
But, you know, aside from that, the graphics look beautiful. I love the guerrilla warfare, the CD gun, the fact that it plays the Macarena before you kill someone. Just, you know, as someone who used to be a former mascot for minor league baseball, I've had to dance to the Macarena so much. I absolutely hate that song that I would love to use a gun that plays that song to bring pain to others. So with me, it kind of hit in a completely dark spot of life, which is the reasons why I love that gun. But I just love how unique the whole Far Cry series is when it comes to just weapons and the storyline and everything else. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I think it looks phenomenal as far as the gameplay. I think they added in some good stuff as far as like guerrilla weaponry, which has been somewhat in other Far Cry games, but the level of creativity in this one I think is on a whole new level. You have Giancarlo Esposito as a main actor in this. So really tapping into some of that Hollywood storyline as well. I think he's going to do a phenomenal job as kind of like a villainous character in this one. The storyline is supposed to be very dark overall. Some of these Far Cry games, we've definitely seen dark storylines in, but supposedly this one might even take it a step further. What that means, we'll have to wait until it comes out. One thing that is not quite on the dark end, the adorable dog, John. This little, like, I don't know what it was, a dachshund or whatever that comes out. I think it's even in a wheelchair. That thing is absolutely adorable, and it's pettable.
Yeah, so I'm going to skip ahead here in the promo because I don't want to listen to developers right now. Let me see if I can find that dog here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play the CD gun here because of DMCA and all that other fun stuff since Macarena's there. So I'm gonna try to do a still.
Oh, it's
shot
right
here.
after this. Yep, there it is. That was the
yeah.
CD
So it's this gun. Let me go ahead and mute it real quick, and we'll play it. I just absolutely love this. It's literally blank CDs, and if you're not a '90s and early 2000s kid, you have no idea what we're talking about, and it's completely fine. But the fact that there is a blank CD gun playing the Macarena, and then you can just go around and just snipe people with the CD. Now it does remind me. I'm going to really turn the clock back here, Joey. The idea of a CD gun is not original. It was originally used in Aerosmith's game, used back on the Sega Genesis, that you could also find on in arcades, on the arcade machines and everything. It was a playable game there too. But that gun was actually a CD gun as well. So I love the fact that it's like now it's like 20, 30 years removed, that the CD gun is kind of making a comeback in that sense. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's cool. The closest thing I've seen outside of that, I think, is Gears of War has a Buzzkill, which is like a saw blade gun that looks very similar to this. But the idea of just classic CDs, you're looking at guerrilla fighters who are trying to use whatever materials they have necessary or within their power to kind of get a hold of. I think it's just a great way to really jump into that warfare, find a way to expand on it, and use some good creativity. So we'll see if the dog pops up as we wrap things up. The last thing on this Far Cry trailer, it seemed like a lot of people on Twitter were very happy about it, but then you have that typical fanboy behavior coming out. This one was on the PlayStation fanboy side, where for some reason, every scene had to be compared to Horizon Forbidden West. This dog is adorable. Check out the little guy barking around. But yeah, overall, that part drove me crazy. It's like, guys, yes, Horizon Forbidden West looks phenomenal. I don't think every blade of grass needs to be brought into a comparison. And I get it. PlayStation fanboys, Xbox fanboys, they always want to make comparisons with whatever to show how their game is better in one way or another. Why can't we just enjoy both games? Do we really need to compare trees and grass and the look of guns or whatever shining off the water? Like, it's unnecessary for some of that stuff to come out. And it just got a little too crazy after the showcase.
Joey, first off, this dog is absolutely freaking adorable.
It's so adorable.
I just want to hug and squeeze it. It's okay. So here's my thing. People arguing about how the blades of grass look in a game. I feel like that's like the Zoomer mentality of boomers comparing front lawns to their neighbors. Like, oh, my grass is Bermuda blue grass. Oh, yours is what? Oh, it's standard. It's what you bought. You didn't get a receipt. Oh, well, my grass looks better than yours. It's ridiculous. Like, seriously, you're paying money for a game, and if the one thing you're going to complain about is how the grass looks, Joey, I can't tell you how many times I've played games and have just stopped mid-game because the grass just didn't look up to par, just didn't look what I was expecting. There's so many games where I just rage quit. Like $60, who cares? The grass isn't realistic. Of course I'm joking. It's absolutely stupid. You're probably the same people that got mad that a main character put weight on between game 1 and game 2. Get out of here.
I mean, it's crazy. Just and I get it. You want to justify your purchase, whether it be a new Xbox console, a new PlayStation, maybe even a new computer. But in the end, just some of these arguments, whether it be one character putting on weight, whether it be a blade of grass looking different, it just feels so unnecessary. Like, are we really grasping at straws that much at this point?
Yes.
Like, go play a game, guys. Like, why are you even on Twitter? Go enjoy one of these games as opposed to looking at these minute details that you probably won't even notice as you're sprinting through them anyway. It seems so unnecessary, some of these arguments going on right now.
Joey, in that new Sonic trailer that came out there, did you know that the third spike on the back of Sonic's head had one hair out of place? The game is literally unplayable, and I will not purchase it because of it.
Send it back.
And Joey, Knuckles is a new shade of red. I do not approve. I'm not playing it whatsoever. It's absolutely garbage. Tails looks like Tails put weight on. Can't play it. How is Tails gonna fly? Huh? Too heavy. Can't do that. Absolutely not. Stop it. Just stop it. It's ridiculous. We've been locked up for 14 months playing video games. I get it. Freedom is weird when you can come out of your house and you don't have to wear a mask anymore. Well, in some places, and you can be normal again. But just stop being stupid. Just stop it. God.
And I hate to say it, John, I mean, this is just the beginning of the next phase of this. Like, when you see stuff like the Xbox Showcase, they're going to show Starfield, they're going to show some Bethesda stuff. You're going to get complaints about that not being on other platforms. And then PlayStation, I won't tell you what games, but they've already gone out and spent a lot of exclusivity money as well, guys. So you're going to see a lot of that kind of money hatting that we've seen Sony do in the past, and that's going to be a big issue for people. And instead of just addressing the issue in and of itself in a lot of these parties, we see them either nitpicking on graphical details or resolutions, or maybe the frame rate dips a little bit more on the Xbox versus the PlayStation, or whatever it may be. They find these little minute things as opposed to just actually talking about the issue. Hopefully that's something we as a gaming culture can get a little bit better at addressing. Like, hey, we don't like limited exclusivity. Stop doing it. We don't like this practice. That to me is a lot more of a fleshed out idea of a way to approach a topic as a general audience of gaming, as opposed to saying, hey, alloys put on weight, or this blade of grass looks different, or we had these games before and now we don't because Microsoft spent $7.1 billion. Whatever the case end up being, it's going to be one of these arguments that just as we go into the Summer Game Fest, as we get into E3, we're going to see more and more of these stupid arguments pop up as well.
Joey, when I complain about a game, it's normally because I have a hard time beating a boss, or I have a hard time solving a puzzle, or something's taking longer in game than I thought in my own head it would take me to do. Not once in all the complaints we have covered in today's episode has any of that ever been entertained one minute skosh bit, anything, whatever you want, a fraction of a thought you want to give it, has ever popped into my head when it comes to a game other than how do I beat this boss, or how do I solve this puzzle? Maybe I'm not a real gamer. Maybe I need to pay attention to the actual physique of characters. Maybe I need to pay attention to the grass blades. Maybe then I can be accepted in the gamer community fully then, Joey.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. If I'm Alloy, I just spent the whole game running around chasing mechanical dinosaurs. I probably want to have a couple banquets afterwards too. If I want to eat a little bit, I feel free to, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's just obnoxious. I think the screenshot they took of her was just a bad lighting screenshot. It ended up with, it doesn't even matter regardless of the screenshot though. But yes, it doesn't even look like that. The screenshot was taken out of place. On top of that, people don't need to make fun of the character regardless of how she looks. It's just absolutely obnoxious. Same with the blades of grass. It's just stupid arguments. And again, just a warning, guys, whether you're listening live here on Twitch or listening to the podcast, this is just the beginning, because you're going to get a lot more of this probably coming over throughout the summer. Over to a couple other bits of gaming news, and we're going to dive a little bit more into some esports events that happened this past weekend. Google Stadia exclusive Super Bomberman R Online is now available for free on other consoles. I believe, I didn't look into this, but I want to say it's Xbox, PlayStation, as well as Nintendo Switch. It's kind of like a battle royale take on the genre, a little bit more of an explosive version of battle royale with all the bombs involved. You can compete up to 64 players in these matches. Again, if you're a Super Bomberman fan, a little bit of an older genre, older IP coming out there, you can go ahead and pick this one up and join into the fray.
Yeah, Super Bomberman put weight on.
Oh my gosh. So explosive. Newly announced Summer Games Clump. That's what we're going to call it from now on, John. This is a giant mess, this whole summer thing going on. Outside of the fanboys here and there, you now have the Twitch Gaming Gathering that is going on. It was announced this past week. You have Summer Game Fest going on, and you have E3 going on. So what's happening? The games industry, you got to love it. So the big crazy thing going on right now is that everyone is trying to take on these events in and of themselves. So for example, the Xbox Bethesda Showcase, it's going to be coming on June 13th. That one is included in E3. It's included in Summer Game Fest, and now it's included in the Twitch Gaming Gathering. So who has the rights to any of these things? I have no idea at this point. It feels like this is just Microsoft saying, hey, we're going to put on the showcase. You guys are welcome to feature it in your event, because all three of these events are just stepping on one another's toes. Because Twitch Gaming Gathering is now going to include Summer Game Fest, which is a game fest that is including a ton of other festivals. And then you have E3, which is incorporated into Summer Game Fest, but not by name. The Summer Games Clump, John, is what this is quickly becoming.
Yeah, I just went ahead and did a quick edit on our overlay there to express your Summer Games Clump on there. Yeah, I mean, look, who doesn't love gaming news? Who doesn't love conference after conference, video after video, exclusive after exclusive? It just makes me wish I didn't have to have a full-time job outside of doing this, Joey, because I just want to sit home and watch all this stuff and cover all of it. It's fun. Yeah, there's a ton of stuff coming out, and it's like it just doesn't feel like we have enough time in the day to watch everything. Like it's going to be absolutely mad, but in a good way. Like I'm pumped for it. But you know, it's just a lot. It's a lot going on.
It's a lot, and like everyone is trying to incorporate every event that they can without stepping on one another's toes or without mentioning the other's branding. Like Summer Game Fest is going to include, again, the Xbox Showcase, the Ubisoft Showcase as well. Both of those are technically in E3 too, so it's kind of like, okay, well, who actually owns the event, or is it just Ubisoft and Microsoft doing their own thing? And then they're incorporated. It's a giant mess. So the Summer Games Clump is what is coming to you guys. That's going to kick off on June 10th. On that day, we have some Twitch gaming gathering stuff going on, as well as some Summer Game Fest. I believe that's opening night live later that night. About 2 hours is what that show's going to run. I think Jeff Keighley's going to show somewhere around 30 games. I think it's like 12 to 15, if I remember, are going to be global reveals. So a number of those games will be completely new reveals that you guys have either never heard of or only heard of in rumors. So we'll see what ends up coming out of that. Again, about 30 games in total, about 2 hours long. About 12 to 15 of those will be global reveals. And then we mentioned it earlier, but the Xbox Bethesda Showcase also got announced. That one is going to be on Sunday, June 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to run approximately 90 minutes long. Originally looking to be about a 2-hour showcase. Instead, it did end up falling a little bit shorter of that at 90 minutes long. One thing you guys are going to see with both PlayStation and Xbox, I can't speak for everyone here, but those two in particular are cutting back a little bit of what they're showing. Part of the reason for that being is, one, COVID kind of delayed quite a few games, but the other reason for that being is that there's so much demand for these consoles right now. It's so hard to find a Series X or a PlayStation 5 that they don't want to bring that demand up even higher than it already is. So while they're going to show some great stuff, and like Xbox Bethesda, I'll tell you now, you're going to get Starfield, you're going to get Halo Infinite multiplayer. Over in the Sony showcase that I think will happen late June, early July, you're going to get some more Horizon stuff. You're going to get some God of War. Overall, there's going to be some good stuff shown in both these showcases, but they're both holding back a little bit because they don't want to drive demand up too far for games that are quite a ways out still. Over in the NBA 2K League, John, you had the pleasure once again of casting some Wizards District gaming. Any other updates you want to hit on that league and how last week's action ended up going?
Yeah, week one was absolutely insane. T-Wolves Gaming picking up where they left off in the tip-off tournament. They went 4-0. In week one, your first place team overall. Something new this season, there is an Eastern and a Western Conference. Top 5 teams from each qualify for the playoffs. And then the ticket, which is the tournament at the end of the season, will be for one other team from the West and one other team from the East to qualify for the playoffs as well. So we have conference play, which is really cool. WizDG started out their season 3-1, splitting a series with Boston and then sweeping Raptors Uprising this past week. Really, really cool game. WizDG, the defending champion, a lot of pressure on them. Toronto not playing up to their potential. Kenny got work, is last year's MVP from the league, and he's not playing so hot. That's going to turn around. It's going to take some time. Jazz.
Are you saying Kenny got worked, John?
Kenny did get worked, and I'm pretty sure I said that during the broadcast, which made me cringe a little. But it's completely fine. Like it was. So Joey, look, just real quick, I'm going to be completely biased here. So the Raptors Uprising tweeted out that this promo for that series against WizDG, and it was Kenny in a Wizards hat with a wand. And it's like, oh, it's time to put these bad Wizards to bed. Like, we're here for revenge. And he throws the hat on the ground and he breaks the wand. And I'm just like, you literally just got your butts handed to you like 0-2. Like the games weren't close at all. Like WizDG just absolutely blew them out. So I'm just going like, you know what? It would have taken magic to beat the Wizards that night, and you broke the only thing that would have brought you magic in that wand. Like that was a fantastic tweet from the Raptors. And it was just, I just found it absolutely hilarious. Like kudos to them on their social media team for thinking outside the box, but just opened themselves up to just being ridiculed after going 0-2. But yeah, it was good. So yeah, it was fun. I mean, look, I obviously enjoy calling the games. They're absolutely fantastic. And yes, I'm biased as anything when it comes to WizDG. But the entire league is playing incredibly well. The new build for 2K League on the new NBA 2K is very offensive. The defense, I mean, it's pretty much like the actual NBA. No defense, all offense. So it's high scoring. It's a lot of fun. And if you've ever wanted to try to get into it, season 4 is off to a great start, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely. So keep an eye out for that, NBA 2K fans, as that season action is just getting started. Plenty of that still to come as we continue on in that season. Over to Valorant. Valorant Masters, the first international Valorant event, happened this past weekend. We ended up seeing Sentinels from the NA go up against the EU's fan favorite there in Fnatic. Sentinels ended up taking this one 3-0 in a dominant display over there, showing that NA is greater than EU so far in Valorant. Overall, the scoreline looking very dominant in favor of NA. While they did play extremely well, credit to Fnatic as well, and credit to Riot Games too. Fnatic ended up taking at least 2 of these games to overtime. Very tight games overall. Sentinels being that team able to close it out for their NA region and for their club and themselves as the organization, but also for Riot, John. What better kind of final can you ask for than an NA-EU final? And yes, it doesn't look competitive scoreline-wise here, but anyone watching knows just how competitive this series was. So many back-and-forth plays. So much action and so much like good taunting between the two regions here and there as well. A player like Fnatic's Boaster as well, just kind of popping off in terms of, let's say, social media presence in a sense, making some great faces here and there that kind of went viral throughout the weekend. Some amazing plays being put on by Sentinels as well. Tens, a number of highlight reel plays coming out from him. He was sitting in place of suspended star Sinatra. We've talked all about Sinatra's situation out for... I don't even know what we call it at this point, something around sexual harassment, sexual misconduct with an ex-girlfriend. It's still currently being investigated, but at this point he has, I believe it was a 6-month suspension. So he will not be returning until September at the earliest. Tens was in place of the suspended star player in Sinatra here. If you're going to have one sub player come in, John, I don't think there's many people better than Tens. Coming over from Cloud9, looked absolutely phenomenal in CSGO, looked phenomenal here once again in Valorant. And if you're C9, I think Tens' price just continues to jump up after a tournament like this.
He was loaned. Let's be real here. C9 knows how to help North America out, so we loaned him to Sentinels. He is still under contract with Cloud9. Let's be very upfront about Cloud9's dominance, or could have been dominance here. Just real quick, Joey. Sentinels is from what region?
Sentinels is from North America.
North America.
The good old NA that can't seem
Fnatic,
to win much in League of Legends.
And Fnatic is from
EU.
Oh, and Sentinels won. It was 3-2, right? It was close. No?
3-0. Sentinels with a dominant
North
victory here
America just backhanded all of Europe in Valorant, and it was absolutely beautiful. NA fans in chat, go ahead, clap it up. Clap it up. We deserve it, especially with Captain Comrade EU Joey over here and his EU elitism. Absolutely disgusting here on this show, but it's fine. It's fine. Sentinels giving us a little something that we can throw back at Joey and his croissants that he so enjoys. So let's absolutely go Sentinels. Job well done. North America's proud of you. Thank you. Thank you for showing those EU people over there that North America is better when it comes to Valorant, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a big win for so many people involved. On the NA side, yes, you have a newer organization in Sentinels, most known for their runs in Fortnite with Bugha. I mean, overall, there's just so much for this organization to really build upon here, coming into a new scene, coming into Valorant, a scene funded by Riot Games, who we've seen have massive success already in League of Legends, now NA popping off. When you look at Valorant in general, I feel like NA as a scene is much stronger than EU in general, other regions right now. You have a few other regions starting to pop up a little bit, some teams over in Europe particularly, but overall NA just looking so strong in Valorant. And on top of that, EU looking much stronger in CS, and you're starting to see a little bit of that difference coming out now, where EU being so dominant in CS and NA kind of being pretty dominant so far in Valorant in the early goings of the season. It's one of those things to see how that shift is going to take place. Do we eventually see more EU players going from CSGO to Valorant? Do we just see NA give up on CSGO altogether since they're finding success in Valorant now? I think that's one thing to watch with some of these esports going forward. On top of that, Riot Games, I don't think it can be said enough. They're phenomenal with League of Legends, one of the best, if not the best esport in the world in terms of just pure events coming out. Not prize pool, as Dota 2 kind of holds that crown every single year at the international, but engagement and viewership. Riot Games has just done a phenomenal job building up their esports scenes, and you already see it here with Valorant compared to CSGO. While CSGO still pulls in a number of viewers, Valve does not support the scene as an esport even close to as much as Riot already has with Valorant. And I think that's going to be one thing as we see continue to build over the next couple of years as well, as we get closer to seeing how the scene develops, as it fleshes out, whether it be more international events like CSGO, whether it be more regional based like League of Legends. It's going to be one of those things to keep an eye on. But Riot so far getting an NA EU final, a competitive one at that. Again, I know 3-0 NA, but as a viewer, I think this series was phenomenal to watch. It wasn't a complete blowout. It wasn't like Sentinels just steamrolled Fnatic and it wasn't fun. This was a final that was super close. It brought 2 overtimes in. Yes, Sentinels looked dominant, claiming them out. But in the end, it was able to pull viewership in because the series was that close, because of the personalities on these two teams, and ended up pulling in 1.1 million viewers concurrently. A lot of that help as well, John, to address it too, is co-streams. When you look at a lot of these major streams, it's just one person running a stream. And yes, it can do well in certain instances, but bringing in the co-streams, having someone like Shroud, for example, pull in their normal, amazingly large audience to watch something like this Valorant event, I think is a really cool way to do it too. It allows you to bring in more engagement, bring in more eyes onto your esport, and eventually help grow the scene as well. Okay, I think that's enough Valorant for now.
No,
I did re-download
Valorant.
Valorant.
I think we can keep talking about it, especially.
I got my butt kicked in some Valorant matches last night. You can ask Nixia over here in chat and Kieranthil if he's still in there. My aim was atrocious. I did end up pulling off a couple clutch plays that probably should have never happened. I think my opponents may have covered their eyes when I ended up getting the kills. But that's a thing. It happened. I have an issue with not moving in tactical shooters. John has an issue with looking at the ground or looking in the sky. My issue is I cannot stand still, or I always move around. So my aim and my bullets are all over the place, and then I get yelled at, and I have a lot of room for improvement, to say the least.
It's okay, Joey. You're just practicing for Fnatic, so you guys can get swept by an NA team again. It's
okay,
fine.
I'm sorry. Where was Cloud9 at this event?
Joey, Sentinels. Sentinels had Cloud9 in them.
I'll let you play around with the
wording.
wording
You know
there.
what? Tens is a part of C9, and we loaned them to Sentinels because we realized that Sentinels was the way to shove the croissant back down your throat, Joey.
The croissant down my throat. Speaking of croissants, we're going to move our way over to CDL because there is a team over there in France. Looking a little bit at CDL, so they kicked off action this past week with the regular season starting things off. Current standings overall are a little bit shaky because it's still early on in the season, but over in Group A, we have the Atlanta FaZe sitting in first at 2-0, the LA Thieves at 1-0, Optic Chicago at 1-1, tied with the Minnesota Rocker, and then the Seattle Surge at 0-1 with Paris, that team with those baguettes, sitting on bottom at the moment, not having too much bread to chomp on in the wins category, sitting at 0-2. Over to Group B, we have the Florida Mutineers at 2-0. The New York Subliners are riding low, but moving up the scoreboard at 1-0. Dallas Empire at 1-1, tied up with the Toronto Ultra. And then the LA Gorillas at 0-1, and the London Royal Ravens sitting at the bottom at the moment at 0-2. Again, still lots of action still to play. This is just the beginning of Stage 4. But so far, John, Florida Mutineers being one of those teams that's looked pretty good all season long. You look at Atlanta FaZe, they're another team that's kind of been a mainstay toward the top of the standings. It doesn't look like there's going to be too much shift, at least if the beginning of Stage 4 is anything to matter on that.
Oh, yeah, Joey. It looks like all those EU teams are last place in their groups too. That's a really bad showing for all you EU fanboys out there.
I just want to be clear. I like Fnatic, not necessarily EU as a region, unless we look at the way the LEC is run. If we want to make LEC versus LCS comparisons, I'm willing to do that all day long.
We can't make those comparisons because there's nothing to compare.
Absolutely. Let's take a look. I do still have it open. Overwatch League had some good games this past weekend. Unfortunately, no games for the Washington Justice. But one trend we did see, John, is after a rough week for quite a few of those top-tier teams, having an issue adjusting to the meta with some of the bans going out, Tracer being banned, Zenyatta, Reinhardt, and Sombra all being banned out for the June Joust and the qualifiers for that event. We saw a lot of shift of power. A lot of these lower-end teams with not-so-pretty records ending up coming and taking victories, taking some really solid competition and pushes to a lot of these top teams, and ending up coming out on top in a number of those matchups. Coming back to this past weekend, we had a lot more normalcy come out of the league. It looks like a lot of those top teams are now starting to settle into the new meta a little bit, have found a way to work around it one way or another, and so far we're able to pull off quite a few more victories to make them a bit more chalkier than we saw last week.
Yeah, this new meta has been an absolute nightmare for some of these teams. It just feels like it feels like Blizzard, like everyone says, like Blizzard reaches into a hat and pulls out random heroes and just makes no sense. No, it feels like these bans were targeted, and it's tough. Like, yeah, it's great for some of these other teams that maybe struggled in that rush meta, in that double bubble meta, you know, and again, we have our own issues when it comes to player bans that we talk about quite a bit. I just don't like the developer making those bans for the pro scene. We'll just leave it there for now. But it does make things interesting. Again, these bans go away after the June joust. We'll have another series split, whatever you want to call it, where we have all of the heroes available. And then we can get back to normal Overwatch League again. But yeah, I think it's nice. It keeps things a little refreshed here. But it is frustrating if you're a fan of a team that's been playing at a high level, and then they have to try to figure out a new meta. Again, part of the issue, if you played in week 1, was the fact that the meta came out on Tuesday, and you played Thursday or Friday. So you got 2 or 3 days to try to figure it out. You know, we've talked a lot about developers dropping patches the night before a tournament and stuff like that. It really changes how these teams prepare and their strategy going into these tournaments or into a weekly format here like we see in Overwatch League. So it makes things challenging. And I don't know if I like the idea of player bans, but it's something that is here, something that all teams have to deal with. And it's proving to pay off for the teams that have been struggling after the May Melee.
Absolutely. And I know we've given our opinions on bans here and there quite a bit, so I won't elaborate too much more on what Jon said there. But it is something we don't necessarily agree with the way it's done currently. We hope to see some changes in that area, and we'll see if Overwatch makes it as we continue toward that Overwatch 2 launch, where we'll eventually see the format switch over to 5v5, as well as the addition of some cool new maps and some new game modes coming into the fray as well. So a lot of changes potentially coming to the Overwatch League scene. Jumping over and back to tactical shooters with CSGO. CS Summit 8 finished up this past weekend. We did see NA's own Team Liquid take the win over here. I know Nixie is in chat tonight. Team Liquid with a very dominant display over Furia, 3-1 to take that victory. Nice little purse going home with them as well, a purse of $17,000. Split for Team Liquid with Furia going home with $10,000 in second place. Third place did go to Extreme. So overall, I think it's another good event. We see CSGO continuing to be up there toward the top of esports events. League of Legends, typically your number 1. CSGO/Valorant, typically sitting around that number 2 spot at this point as we continue to see Valorant move upward. CSGO is still a much bigger thing over in Europe at the moment. And then you have some other scenes like Dota 2, who seems to continue to dominate when it comes to prize pool. Not quite pulling in the same number of viewership as like a League of Legends or a CSGO, but still finding ways to do a very effective job of crowdfunding their prize pool. So we'll keep an eye on that one as we go. But yes, a little bit more NA tactical shooter love out there for the audience tonight. With that, we'll slide on over to some League of Legends. This one, not necessarily scene-based in and of itself, but a little bit of an overarching genre of the scene. The NALCS has announced their newly elected, or the NALCS, I put that wrong. It's the NA Players Association over there for the LCS, has announced their newly elected officials and plans for their next iteration of the organization. Coming in as your president is going to be Darshan, formerly known as Zion Spartan, as a legend over on CLG at one point. Your vice presidents are going to be world champion Core JJ and current Team Liquid support, as well as Lorlo, a former top laner, coming in as well. They brought in a new full-time director in Phil Aram. And then the board of directors is now going to include Jason Docton, Stephen Ellis, Ryan Fairchild, Lauren Gabba Flanagan, and Brian Tran coming in there as well. So one thing we've seen over the past is, I'm going to say, the players' approach to this players' association. It's kind of been swept under the rug. We have all these crazy contracts being signed over in NA. A lot of people saying it's becoming an esports bubble over here where players are being overpaid. Another issue being that we're looking at importing talent so much, and we had the whole thing break out. It was either earlier this year or late last year where we did see some LCS owners, I believe it was earlier this year, talk about the idea of getting rid of the import rule, and that was going to allow them to further establish NA talent because, you know, getting rid of an import rule is going to help something you already have the ability to do. But that's neither here nor there. So one of the things with this in particular is how can we give more power to the players, and how can the players take advantage of this power and use it to better utilize for themselves in the scene? That's one of the things they're going to focus on here. So the main points being, I've kind of shortened these down to the way I'm going to summarize them. protecting the players, increasing player participation in the Players Association, and bringing to light issues where players and fans haven't been effectively communicated with. That more in the way that they approach Riot Games as opposed to the organizations. Riot Games, whether it be moving events here and there to different spots, whether it be changing the dates of different events or the rules with the OCE rule, for example, having a little bit more communication in that area is kind of what they're looking for in terms of getting that out to both the players and the fans. So we'll see how this all goes. Again, the big major things for me are protecting the players and, again, increasing player participation. Having something like a union in this sense, or in this case, a players association, can be super effective for those players. If they feel like the scene is going in the wrong direction, or they feel like players are maybe not being looked at the way they should by organizations or by the league or by fans, this is the best way to capitalize on it. And I think with this new organization, or rather with this new board of directors and this new executive committee necessarily of this organization, I think that really could be a new direction for them here. Anything else to say on the NALCS, John? We already talked about it kicking off. It does kick off next week. I'm in particular very excited for the new approach here with the Players Association.
I think it actually kicks off this week.
Is that not what I said? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking it's Sunday still. Yeah, this week. Yeah, it is this week, June 4th, I believe.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I really do hope these players take this Player Association to heart, because it really is for their benefit. To make sure that the organizations don't take advantage of the players, that the developer doesn't take advantage of the players as well. It's for the overall survival of the players, their career, and their well-being going into the future after their career is over. It's something I really, really hope that they take seriously. And again, it's difficult because again, I remember when I was 18, like this, finances and financial responsibility was not something I cared about. And now here we are going to be asking, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, to form essentially a union, to protect themselves. And it's going to need a lot of mature players to really help represent the overall population for what's best for gamers going forward, and League of Legends being one of the largest, if not the largest, esport in the world, with massive contracts, with massive amounts of money coming in and out constantly. It's there for the players' protection. I really hope they understand that.
Absolutely. And whether it be League of Legends, whether it be another scene, having a players association is very big for the players. We've seen so many issues, not necessarily with big publishers like a Riot Games, with some of these smaller organizations where players might go months without being paid. We've seen some smaller event hosts as well not pay players, not pay representatives. That's been a big issue in these smaller scenes. Or the bigger scenes with smaller events going on as well. So hopefully this is one of those things that can help tackle some of that too. If players are not getting paid, that's just not right. If players are signing contracts that are predatory in a sense of looking at their viewers or followers or whoever in lights that should not be balanced toward the organization as opposed to the player, that's another thing to look at here as well. So I think it's great. I hope we see it in more esport titles. I hope it becomes a bigger thing in esports in general. But for now, hopefully this becomes a model for a lot of other organizations to move with. Other than that, John, I think that wraps it up. We covered all the showcases from last week. We touched on a lot of the big esport competitions. There is a ton still happening. Again, guys, Summer Game Fest and all that fun is going to kick off on June 10th, so just a couple weeks away. You'll be getting more announcements this week. So if there's not a game announcement that's going to make it into that E3 time period, or maybe even later in July, it's most likely coming out this week or early next week. One to keep an eye on is going to be that Switch Pro or Super Switch, whatever they're going to end up calling it, announcement. I think that one's going to come out on Thursday. Not 100% sure, but it should be coming sooner than later. So keep an eye out for that, as well as a couple other game announcements and anniversaries that may get mentioned prior to those Summer Game showcases as well. So keep an eye out. Lots of fun ahead. And again, a big gaming summer coming here. Stay tuned for OTN stuff.
All right, Nation, that is going to do it for the final episode in the month of May here for LvLUp Live. But before you go, head on over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you'll get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are a part of OTN Media. If you have not already done so, make sure you follow the show on Twitch to catch the next episode of LvLUp Live. If you listen to the show on our podcast feed, leave us a review. LvLUp Podcast is available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from all of our listeners and viewers so much. There are other ways for you to reach out to us. Joey, what are some of those ways?
Absolutely. LvLUp Nation, whether you're live on Twitch with us here or listening to the podcast later down the road, head on over to Twitter and find us at LvLUp Live. That is LvLUp Live. In addition to that, you can follow the umbrella company OTN Media as well on Twitter and Facebook at OTN Media and on Instagram at OTN_media. Last but not least, hit us up with a follow on Twitch, maybe even a Prime sub. We love all the action. Whether you're giving a sub or not, come hang out and chat. It's a great experience. You can do so twitch.tv/OTN Media. This show, LvLUp Live, Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, as well as a variety of other streams throughout the week.
All right, make sure you tune in this Thursday, June 3rd, as we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news. Do your ears and eyes a favor. Hit that sub button to know when the next episode of LvLUp Live is ready for your viewing and listening pleasures. We'll catch you all on Thursday. Have a fantastic week. It's a short one. It's only a 4-day week this week. Be nice to your fellow gamers online, and as always,
Level up.